All right, welcome back to First Team Fantasy, everyone. In this game, we had the Saints traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts, a high-scoring game which the Saints were able to win, 38-27. Derek Carr, 19 of 27, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 18.3 fantasy points, a solid week from Derek Carr. He's a guy that's never thrown a bunch of touchdowns. He's had a couple good seasons with yards, but I think his highest touchdowns is like 34 in a season. So, I mean, what, do you see something?
Yeah, it's not just a sprained thumb for Stafford, it's a UCL sprain. So I guess a little bit more serious.
He probably, I don't want to say, but it seems like he will miss this week with a bye week 10. I just can't imagine him rushing him. But yeah, a serviceable game for Derek Carr, what we'd expect from him. Alvin Kamara, he is an absolute monster. 17 carries, 59 yards, a touchdown. 4 catches for 51 yards on 5 targets, another touchdown, 27 fantasy points even. He's a must start every week. Something from this game, he did have his lowest snap percentage since he returned from suspension. But again, I'm not worried about that at all. He's one of those guys. He's so explosive. He's going to be out. I mean, he played 58% of the snaps.
You know what? Honestly, you know what I will say? Since this game, he looked fast. He getting through the line. This is the fastest I've seen him look.
Mm-hmm.
And this is unnamed people were saying like, oh, if they're using him this much, then well, it seems like they've got that figured out how much they're going to use him compared to how much that he's going to be. I mean, at this point, the Saints are sitting at 4-4. They could win that division.
Yeah, I think me. I think the Saints do win that division. But
they're. And he's going to be a crucial part in that. So, yeah. I mean, I do not see Alvin Kamara finishing below, like, RB10. Below that at all.
No.
Maybe not even below RB5, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, and I mean, when you get 27 fantasy points and it's his lowest snap percentage, which is 58, I mean, what are we talking about? Alvin Kamara is a must-start RB1 on your fantasy team. Just every week, he's going to finish RB1 stats. Jamal Williams saw a little bit more run in this game, had 6 carries for 30 yards, a catch for 8 yards on a target, 4.8 fantasy points. Solid week for him, I guess, backup-wise. I like him as a handcuff if Kamara does happen to miss times, but outside of that, I don't think he's going to be a very viable fantasy play. Kendre Miller had a little bit of run, but nothing really worth mentioning. I think he's going to be the RB3 in that backfield. I don't think he takes over Jamal, but I guess we'll see as the season goes on. Chris Olave had a kind of quiet week. I mean, he had 9 targets, which we do like to see, but he only caught 5 of them for 46 yards, 9.6 fantasy points. Not a great week for Olave. He didn't completely kill you, but again, we're at least hoping for like 12, 13 fantasy points, especially where he was drafted. Michael Thomas gave you a Michael Thomas week. 4 catches, 68 yards, 7 targets, 10.8 fantasy points. Book it. It's Michael Thomas. It's what you expect from him. Rashid Shaheed. We were talking about this a little earlier before we started recording. 3 catches.
Nah, this was great.
153 yards and a touchdown, 24.3 fantasy points. He played 27% of the snaps. His lowest coming into this on the season was 49%. I don't know why he only played 27% of the snaps, but it didn't matter. Because when you get 3 catches for 153 yards and a touchdown, it's going to be a great fantasy week. And he's, like we said, Derek Carr likes throwing the deep ball, and he found Shaheed deep.
It is crazy because, like, just looking at his snap percentage, it's like literally every time this man came in, they're like,
we throwing it deep to Shaheed.
You know what it is?
And it hit.
Go route.
And it hit every time.
So, I mean, know what it is? Just go. And he went, and he caught it, and he scored on one of the times. So it was crazy.
Yeah. Someone that is becoming, honestly, has to be a start. It's Taysom Hill. At that tight end spot, I mean, they shouldn't even allow him to be labeled as a tight end in fantasy. It's not right, to be honest.
Because he does everything. It's so...
In this game, he only had 1 catch on 1 target for 14 yards. but he rushed the ball 9 times for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh my God.
22.46 fantasy points, 44% of the snaps. He is becoming a must start. Like, you have to start Taysom Hill next week. You just, especially at the tight end position, like, you have to. And we saw the return of Juwan Johnson. He played 61% of snaps. He is not going to spell Taysom Hill. He had 2 targets, caught one of them for 5 yards, 1.5 fantasy points.
Well, he plays the tight end position.
Yeah, Taysom doesn't just play tight end.
Taysom just plays football.
Yeah.
Tayসম's just doing stuff.
Yeah.
Regardless of where. He's like a true positionless player. But yeah, that's the difference. Juwan Johnson being like, that was the, but no, it's not going to affect Taysom at all because
Taysom's
it don't matter where the hell he lines up. Yeah, they just put him in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you have your must starts for the Saints. You have Alvin Kamara. You have Chris Olave. And you got Taysom Hill. He's hot right now. They're using him. Again, at the tight end spot.
Michael Thomas.
Well, I was going to say Michael Thomas. Yeah, Michael Thomas, you know exactly what you're going to get if you are fine getting 9 to 12 points. Absolute must start. He is not going to burn you.
We're getting into weeks, though. Week 9, you have the Niners on bye. You have the Broncos on bye. You have the Jaguars on bye. That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's going to be a must start this week.
Yeah, you're missing Ayuk, Ridley, Kirk.
The Lions have a bye.
The Lions, the
Almond Man.
You realize, okay, you're going to end up needing to start some of these guys. So
yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, Michael Thomas is a must start this coming week. Shaheed, he's a super boomer bust guy. I mean, he is booming though. When he's booming. But 27%, like, it doesn't scare me, but I'm kind of like, why did he only play that when he was so valuable in this game? I mean, it worked for them. The Saints won the game, so, they know what they're doing. But Rashid Shaheed, 1,000%, he's at least rostered. 1,000%. The Colts side of the ball. Gardner Minshew. Did Gardner Minshew things? 23 of 41, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 1 rush for 3 yards, 15.82 fantasy points. We're not looking to start Gardner Minshew, fantasy-wise. I don't like how many more passes he threw. Okay, maybe depending on the matchup.
Yes.
Because he throws the ball so much.
Cake matchup, yes, he throws the ball so much that just on passing volume alone, he could get there.
Yeah. But I don't like. Oh, go ahead.
That mustache maniac, he likes to run the ball sometimes. So
yeah,
like we saw against the Browns, he got 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, Minshew can be electric. He's trying to rush like Richardson did, but but again, I don't like how much they're passing, especially when Jonathan Taylor had 12 carries for 95 yards in the first half and then didn't run the ball again. Your star running back, who you finally paid, had 95 yards on 12 carries, and then you're like, we're cool? It's just, that makes no sense to me. But yeah, 12 carries, 95 yards, 1 catch for 2 yards on 2 targets, 10.7 fantasy points, played 61% of snaps. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's a must start every single week. The Colts need to figure that out because, again, dang near 100 rushing yards at the half on 12 carries, and you're like, nah, not running it again.
He caught a pass in the second half.
Yeah. For 2 yards. It does not make sense. Zach Moss, he is serviceable still. Even with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
If you're in full PPR, I'm trying to think of another like backup running back. I guess maybe Kareem and Jerome. But Zach Moss might be like the number 1 fantasy-wise RB2.
I also have a theory about this. Zach Moss may be getting traded. Maybe.
No, and he would be valuable for other teams.
He'd be a good trade piece. He's a good running back.
This game.
I think he could be getting traded. I haven't seen anything about it, but...
Didn't the Bills trade him for Nyheim Hines? We won't get into that. But yeah, Zach Moss, 11 carries.
They also just signed Leonard Fournette. Yeah.
Who?
The Bills.
They just signed Leonard Fournette?
Yes.
When?
You swear to God, you didn't see that.
No.
Yeah, that's why we were talking about. That's why Austin said he was like, "Hold your breath, James Cook managers."
No.
And I was like, "Yeah, now they have another guy taking carries from him."
No. No.
Yeah.
He's not streaming on Warzone? To 0 viewers? Yeah, he did sign with the Bills. The practice. I'm way late. I don't know. Okay, whatever. I was prepping for this. I was prepping for this. Dang. Okay. But yeah, Zach Moss.
Information was still in the system. It's good.
Yeah, Zach Moss, solid game. 11 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. 1 catch for 8 yards.
That was a wild sidetrack.
Yeah, it was. 1 catch for 8 yards on a single target. 14.4 fantasy points, 39% of snaps. We're seeing that snap percentage kind of grow a little bit, the distance, but I think this is around where it will stay. Zach Moss deserves to be on the field for at least like 35% of snaps. He has been very valuable for the Colts and honestly kept them in contention on the run game when Jonathan Taylor was out. I mean, Zach Moss is very serviceable. I like him. Michael Pittman, he said he wants the ball more, and he got the ball. I mean, 8 catches, only 40 yards, but he scored a touchdown, saw 13 targets, 18 fantasy points flat. Solid week for Michael Pittman. That's what we should expect from him. And kind of his duo in that passing game, Josh Downs. Again, as solid as they come at this point. 7 catches, 72 yards, 9 targets, 14.2 fantasy points. He's solid.
Hell yeah, man.
He's the clear wide receiver too there. Sorry. Yeah, no, Josh Downs is the truth. He is legit. And he's a guy that, I mean, especially with all the buys, he, again, must start this coming week. I will be
starting him this next week.
I will
be starting him.
Yeah, absolutely have to. Alec Pierce had a solid week. 3 catches, 41 yards, 5 targets, 7.1. Not really viable fantasy-wise. He's the wide receiver 3 there. Coming into the season, people were probably curious, is it going to be Alec Pierce or Josh Downs as that wide receiver 2? It is Josh Downs, without question. And then for the tight end, Andrew Ogletree had a catch on 3 targets, 33 yards, and a touchdown. 10.3 fantasy points, 54% of the snaps. Again, when Kylen Granson comes back, But even when Granson comes back, I'm thinking about Granson, but I'm not like picking him up and putting him in a lineup until I can see some consistency there.
It's like every time you see Gardner Minshew having a shit ton of passing yards, it's like the tight ends are just the Kevin James meme, just standing there with their hands in their pockets.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Like the tight ends every week. It doesn't. They're just blocking, I guess.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
No, 100%. But I mean, that's. You have anything else for this one?
No.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Again, Saints beat the Colts 38-27. We appreciate the support. If you've watched through the videos up to this point, any questions, comments, advice you may need, feel free to drop it in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.
Yes.